I'm sorry, are you saying you're going to activate based on what these people are going to choose? You activating is not based on what these people are going to choose. That's something that you have control over, and you get to decide what you're going to do for your business, regardless of what these 3 people choose. This is a decision that you make, not just with activating, with anything in your business. You make a decision. I'm going to hit this pin. I'm going to be at that event. I'm going to have this kind of an income. I have these kinds of people on my team. You decide that, and then it's shocking what happens around you to make that come to pass, right?
Activated because these people chose the business, or do these people get sucked into the vortex of your choice to get activated?
So I'm already accepting this is not going to go perfectly, and that's okay. Is this still worth it to me, right? Do I still want to cast my lot here? And I'm realizing the amount of value and worth that's going to come out of this is way beyond whatever kind of difficulty and inconvenience we're going to have to go through. And so I made a decision as a leader in my own heart. I'm going to take the brunt. I will be blamed for stuff. Things are going to go wrong that will make me look bad. I'm going to embrace that anyway, because what people think about me is not more important than what's going to happen for the people who experience the benefit of this event, right? The decision gives you the heart posture and the frame of mind and awareness and focus to engage that path, that as soon as anything gets in front of you, good or bad, it doesn't matter. You're already ready. The decision was made before the circumstance presented itself, right? Yeah. You don't have to sit there and decide what to do with a new choice and a new choice. You don't have a bunch of new choices to make. You already made a choice, and now you just go execute that choice with every new circumstance that presents itself.
And I think we are live. Meeting is now being streamed. We are live. All right. Hello, everybody. It's David Whited coming to you from Kansas City, Missouri, home of the Kansas City Chiefs and the world's greatest barbecue. If you're ever looking for a great place to come and eat, come hang out. We'll go through a drive-through, keep our social distancing, and have some great barbecue sometime here in Kansas City. So today I am honored in the last of our scheduled catching up series to have somebody that could be interviewed as an expert, not just in the Market America realm, but in several others. He's a sought-after speaker. He's traveled all over the world speaking, sharing good ideas of hope and clarity in lots of different formats. He's a personal coach, helps people in their personal lives, spiritual lives, has an itinerant ministry, he's an author. The challenge for this is he has about 3 days of good ideas, and we're going to 30 minutes find out how he's adapting to this new environment with Market America. So we're going to have a lot of fun. If you can't tell already from the picture, we're going to have a great time. This is a guy that is very comfortable with himself, and hopefully, if nothing else, you catch that and carry a little bit of that home with yourself as well. Everybody can use a little more of that. So with that, local coordinator of Redding, California, and Colton Whitehead's former house dad supervisor, Mike Maeshiro. Mike, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. Thank you for that intro, David. That's very comfortable with himself. I'm taking that as a compliment. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah,
you guys, I'm wearing this crown because I was told this is the last of the scheduled interviews, and we needed to commemorate that. That's a big deal. So we just got to, pay tribute to it.
It's the final in our series. So a lot of people that are on here today, might know you. This is the southern region, but you've come to our regional event we had with Elizabeth this past year. We've done other formats and interviews. You're so interwoven in Colton's story of his life, his Market America story, but fill people in a little bit on your journey as it pertains to the intersection of your life, Colton's life, and how that kind of evolved into a Market America business concept.
Yeah. I mean, Colton's very much interwoven in my story too. It's like, it's a thing. I was the house dad for a student housing community in Redding, California. The Whiteds came to Redding to be part of BSSM, go to the Bethel School of Supernatural Ministry, which I had attended previously. And so I was there to be like the on-site pastor of this home that these guys were going to live in while they were going through school. And so one of the applicants, or one of the guys that was going to be moving in, was a guy named Colton Whited, and my buddy was the guy who started this whole business and was the one who recruited me for that role. And he was so excited about this Whited family, and these guys were moving to Redding. He was just so impressed. He talked about them like they were unicorns, and I'm like, okay, what's the deal with these Whiteds people, right? And he was saying how like every referral that this kid had for his application to our place, they were all incredible people. Every person you talked to, their energy, their hope, their enthusiasm, their positivity. He was so mesmerized by everyone surrounding this family. He was just very taken by them. And I immediately was like, okay, I'm getting a little defensive and paranoid.
Yeah,
Like, what's going
exactly.
on?
You want to keep your expectations in check, right? It's like when people tell you got to see this movie, it's the best movie ever. You know,
Right, exactly.
you're like, oh,
Exactly. It's like,
I'll be the judge of what's the best movie ever.
right. So I'm going on the defense already. Like Todd has drank the Kool-Aid and I'm like, I'm not sure I'm drinking anything. So Colton drives up in this giant white tank of a truck. And I'm like,
Yeah.
are you kidding me? Like, I don't think this truck could be any bigger and he could still.
I think Tom Holden's on here, and Tom Holden donated that to our children's home in Mexico, and it had over 300,000 miles on it when Colton started it. And that's after driving all the way to southern Mexico and all the way to Redding, California. And I think they went through hurricane, whatever the hurricane was that went through New Orleans and all that. So.
Wow. Yeah. And so I didn't know any of that. So here this kid is driving up this tank of a vehicle and I'm like, are you serious? And I'm already just annoyed. I'm like, I don't understand. And then Colton gets out of the car and he is too excited. I mean, I don't know people like this. I'm immediately like, I don't believe this person. I don't know what's going on right now. How is he this excited? And he was that excited all the time. And it was like throwing me off. I'm like, what do you do with this? I had no grid for a Colton Whited, you know what I mean? And it took me a while to find where that was in my world. I'm like, what do I do with this person? This is so bizarre.
Because most people you would figure are artificially manufacturing that energy to create an impression, or it's temporary exertion to gain favor.
Yeah, like an exertion of will. It's just driven by their own, design, and it's just Colton. You know what I mean? He's been that way for the last however many years it's been, and he hasn't not been that person. I'm like, what the heck? Crazy. Anyway, so. And then also, this didn't help that all of his stories involve being chased by the cartel and his parents are millionaires and they went on these crazy vacations. You're like, okay, how much of what this kid's telling us is actually true? And, like, I think all of us in the house were kind of having to go through that with Colton. Like, we didn't know what to believe because all of his stories were just so outlandish and absurd and unrelatable. We didn't know what to do with him. He was like a cartoon character.
Yeah.
Only he's just still there when we wake up. Oh, he's still here. Oh, he's at breakfast now. Oh, we're having lunch together. Oh, he's still here.
Still cranking. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, let's do affirmations this morning. I've been doing positive affirmations every day since I was in kindergarten.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. Those disciplines and practices definitely showed up in our chores, right? And in responsibilities of like how we manage the home. Colton was one of the more diligent people in that space and definitely took care of things in the ways that the other guys didn't. So there were definitely like symptoms of quality and value, but the personality, like exuberance and storytelling was just like, we don't have to do with this. So fast forward, Colton and I got to butt heads and we wrestled through that, man. And we had some hard goings. Like I did not know what to do with him. And there is weird tension between us and emotional strain and confusion and misunderstanding. And it lasted for a long, like months, I think. And it was exhausting and painful. And I think it was like one of the more painful experiences I had living there was with Colton. And so we got to like work it out and it wasn't going well for a long time. I mean, it was like sustained, for a period. And then I got to go through this pretty significant heart change, which was really difficult for me and painful. And we got to work it out and reconcile. And then, he came to Costa Rica with me at one point and he's literally this white kid, like one of the major translators on our team. I'm like, what are you supposed to do with, I don't know. He's not real. His story just doesn't fit into the normal, but he's the real deal, right? Anyway, so he got married and we kind of like lost touch a little bit. We weren't in each other's lives regularly at that point. And then he was like, hey, let's get coffee. So we got coffee at his, the house he was staying at. And he was like, hey, I'm expanding a business in town. My parents just got back into the game and we're launching a thing here and I want you to check it out. And at that time, my life and my schedule was so crazy. I was so full of things I was doing. I was like, dude, I can't. I told him right up front. I was like, dude, I'm sorry. That's
but
awesome.
This point, I don't know, he already moved out. He was doing
sorry.
His own place. Was he married at that point to Michaela?
He had gotten, he was married, living with Michaela.
Yeah, so your guys' worlds are all kind of intertwining. Bethel Church kind of created this overlap, a little bit, in the Venn diagram of your own individual lives, but it's sort of your orbits, we're still crossing, a lot.
Yeah, totally.
By this point, we'd moved from there. You and I met individually apart from all of this.
Yeah.
Because you had questions. I think I just like had lunch with you, just started giving you books.
Yeah, right.
I'm like,
which changed my life, by the way. I was so grateful for that.
Like we can only do so much. So like, it's a great conversation, but this helped me a lot and just sent you home with a stack of books. And then, so that was its own thing. And I was kind of doing something similar with Todd, and then, we moved to Houston and that's when Colton kind of got launched with his business.
Right. I remember that was when Periscope was a thing. I'm like, what's the deal with this Periscope thing? And Colton's like all about Periscope. I'm like, okay, I'll watch the thing. So anyway, I told him no. And for the next month, Todd was the guy who was like enamored with the Whiteds, and he's the one who recruited me for the housing thing. Todd was like, Mike, you need to check out what Colton's doing. I'm like, Colton Whited, the 21-year-old? Like, what? He's like, you need to look at this. I'm telling you, it's a big deal. I'm like, no, dude, I don't have time. And I'd push it away. And then he kept bringing it up every week when we were together. He'd like keep mentioning this unfranchised business in Colton. And I'm like, dude, Todd, just, okay, fine. He's like, let me just try and explain to you. I'm like, okay, fine. Go ahead and explain it to me. So he drew it on his whiteboard and it didn't make any sense. And I asked him some questions and he didn't have the answers for them. I'm like, what are we doing? He's like, you need to listen to Colton. I'm like, oh. So I let Colton come to my office. He showed me the plan for the first time. And I was an independent business owner with Amway at the time, actually. I'd stopped doing anything. Most people don't know this, but
I didn't even know that part.
Most people don't. I forget that happened, but I think back to the time frame. I'm like, oh my gosh, I was technically still registered as an owner with Amway, a distributor.
Which is one of the unique things to Amway is people can be, retired in Amway, but you still never really know they're in Amway.
Right. Totally. Exactly. And so I had stopped building or doing anything with it for like 6 months. It was basically a thing of the past, but I think technically I was still capable of like participating in everything.
Okay.
When I saw this. And so anyway, when he showed me the compensation plan, I got annoyed. I was like, oh, this is one of those things. I can't believe I'm sitting here right now. Oh, I'm already trying to get out of one of those things. I can't believe I'm listening to another one was my attitude. I was like, I'm going to kill Todd. I can't believe I'm sitting here right now. This is a waste of my time. And then when Colton got to the compensation plan and started telling me how we got paid, the 100% credit, the fact that the volume didn't reset and the stacking people on the teams and like all these different features, I was like, wait, what? And I would ask questions. I was really confused and like in disbelief. I did not believe him. And I literally left that meeting with, I don't think he knows what he's talking about. This is not a real business. There's no way this is how this works. Like that doesn't make sense. Because of what I knew, this was so foreign, right? But Colton killed it in the follow-up game. He got me on the phone with his parents the next day. So I chatted with David and Stacy while they were in Houston on the phone. And I basically was like, yeah, I'm intrigued. Like if I like what he's saying, I don't understand the numbers. It doesn't click for me. And I was thinking like, I don't think he said it right. I think that he had the wrong idea.
Right.
So
they
told me this.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, oh, Colton, I want to vote for you, but this doesn't make any sense. So I'm listening to David and Stacy and they're saying the same exact stuff. And I was like, wait, what? No, it still doesn't make sense. They're supposed to make more sense. And I kind of like asked more questions and they explained it to me and like, does that make sense? And I lied and said yes, and I still didn't get it.
I think everybody could probably say they've done that.
Yeah. And so I left that experience thinking like, okay, David and Stacy do not need me to believe this. They're not trying to pull a fast one over me. What am I missing? And so clearly I don't get something. So I just kept plugging into stuff that Colton was doing. And he had a HPP that Thursday night. He had like 40 people in the room, several of whom were like upstanding leaders in our environment that I respected. And I was like, how is Colton getting these people in this room tonight? I don't understand what's happening. And I was like, even if I don't make any money with this company, this would be a great excuse to get to spend time with these people. Like that was attractive to me. The association was like a factor. And then at the end of that HPP, Deanna was shoving like isotonics down my throat. And Eric Bagley was talking to me about like the inside leg versus a common leg and how you stack people and strategy. And I'm like, oh, it makes a lot of sense. And I'm like, how do I sell product when I've got like a name here that people trust? I can't use that to like sell stuff. What do? I feel like I'm at a disadvantage. And he helped me like work through that psychology. And it just proved my, silly thought process. And so that was really helpful. And then Tom Holden was in town. And he was doing a basic 5 that weekend for Colton. And they both, I guess, probably tag team and got me in the room. I don't know how I gave up a Saturday to be at this thing, but I went. And there was a raffle and I won, and it was GoPro by Eric Worre. And I was like, okay. And I remember walking into that room and I saw like Snap products all over this table. And I was like, you have got to be kidding me. Are these people for real? This is for real. Oh my gosh, they're serious. Okay, whoa, this is crazy. I sat next to Todd the whole day and I'm like, I can't believe this is happening. But the information was really good and I was intrigued and I was enjoying it. And then I got that book and I read that book that weekend and it blew my mind. I'm like, oh my gosh, if I read this book while I was in Amway, I might've made some money. This is helpful. This stuff is like legit. And so I started feeling even more and more compelled. And like, once I started getting an idea for the path, it started becoming even more of a sensible decision. And so eventually like it was a 10-day trial period for me of where I was evaluating, where I was like, at the HPP that I was at, I could see in Colton's eyes, he was going to build this. Like he had this fire and I could like, a lot of people know me as the discerning spirits guy, right? Like I'm very in tune to the spiritual stuff going on around us and the invisible thing. And I could see it on Colton. I couldn't have explained it to you, but I knew he was going to make this happen. He was going to succeed and no one was going to get in his way. I could see it. And I could feel myself like submitting to that. I was like, I could follow him. I'm like, what am I I'm like arguing with myself internally while he's talking about isotonics, and I'm like, what?
Colton did such a good job, especially in those early stages of not getting over, leaning over his skis too far, in being the messenger, and having his story. It's like, it's not about me, it's about this company. I'll get you on the phone with my parents. I'll do a three-way with Tom Holden. He was all about these third party, read this Eric Worre book. And so he was just a really good signpost, a lot there. So that enabled him to grow bigger than he was personally, because the tools he was using were bigger than he was.
Yeah, he really was. It took me like 3 years to learn how to do that. But he was good at it, and he did it consistently, and it was annoyingly consistent. And he also, I still to this day very much respect this about Colton. He cast vision for people when there was nothing to believe in around us. We didn't have any visible, tangible proof that what he was saying was real besides this like slideshow, and these products. But he was telling us what was going to happen, what was possible, and what he'd seen other places, and what we could do here, and what was going to take place. And he had no proof that was going to happen, yet he did it anyway. And he was the youngest one in the room in front of all these professionals, and he would say that. And I was like, shoot, you know what? I got to give him credit for like the courage and the bravery it takes to do this. I'm impressed.
Yeah.
But he legitimately established an area and cast vision for us that I think a lot of people don't know how to do. And he continued to do it. And that takes guts,
Sorry, big commonality for people, this isn't an exclusive Market America necessity. If you're starting a church, or you're going to, put together a homeowners association, or you're going to, have a workout group and everybody's going to stay together. You've got to be able to see the end result, before everyone else does, and be able to describe it in a way that they can see it before it's there to see. And for anybody that builds something, building or creating in this business, we are creators. We're co-creators with the creator, but we're also co-creators with each other. And it's impossible to walk into a better future that you didn't already see, or someone else could describe it clearly enough that you could walk towards it.
Yeah.
And that's whatever you're going to do. That if somebody doesn't do this business and they do something else, if you're going to be a great parent and you want to get your kids to eat their vegetables, or you want them to get good grades, or it's about casting a vision, and you've got to see something through the clutter and confusion that other people bring to the table.
Totally. For sure. That's absolutely true. And Colton was doing that. And so that was like, I'm still so grateful that he did, because if he hadn't done that, I don't know if I would have been able to get on board. Right. Anyway, I kept evaluating. I'm like, Colton's going to do this. He's got parents who've done this successfully for years. They will not let him fail. The association he's gathering is really attractive. The timing of this in my life is really interesting. There's residual income. The compensation plan is unlike anything I'd seen before. There's all these pros, and the con I had, the negative was, I can make money in a more prestigious, glamorous way. I don't need this. Like, I feel too egotistical to want to say, is what the honest, just like, I was prejudiced, right? And when I got nice and honest in myself with God, I was like, the only reason I'm thinking to say no to this is because I'm afraid what people are going to think about me.
Yeah, just ego.
Yeah, that's it. I was like, Mike, seriously, is that a reason for you not to say yes to a legitimate opportunity? And I was like, crap, I'm going to do this. And as soon as I knew it, I was like, oh God. And so I did. I launched my business, and David and Stacy came to Reading 2 months later, and I hadn't done anything for 2 months. I told Colton, like, I can't do anything for the next couple months, but I see what's happening. Can I please get my spot on the team? And when I'm ready, I'll build. He's like, great. 2 months later, I went to another basic 5 with David and Stacy, and they blew my mind. I had never seen anything like this before, because I'd never been part of a system like this. So the way they taught that you could leverage, and the way you lead a team, and the strategies and the mindsets and the values behind this whole thing, I was like, I've never heard any of this. And it was so practical and accessible, just the way that they laid things out that day. I remember they made us go through a script, and I did a role playing with Bethany Roper back then, now Mosca. And she did the script on me, and it worked. And I was like, oh my God, I would totally sit down with her and listen to her. I would do the meeting with her. This works. What the heck? And I could feel myself being convinced, even though I knew it was an exercise. If someone had, I think I'm an actor on some level, so I put myself in that role. And if someone said stuff like that to me the way she did, I would have said yes. And I was like, oh my gosh, this works. And then I saw the leveraging and the exponential increase that they were like able to do and whatever, and blew my mind. So I started getting to work, and then, made my first check within 6 weeks from that point. And then just made checks faster and more since. And it's been amazing since. Anyway, that's how Colton and I, this is the long answer.
You're still intertwined. You guys are, you got kind of like Tom Holden and I, it's like just God put us together, and our stories just have always kind of, like these trees you see, but down below the roots are just so woven together. You You can never pluck one of them out individually.
Yeah, totally.
You guys are kind of that way. You'll be old men telling these stories. So, a couple questions. We want to get into a little bit of adaptation's been a big question during this series. How are you adapting? The same, more than anything that's ever happened in our world, we're all dealing with a similar challenge right now.
Yeah.
And we've talked about, like, there might have been a hurricane in Florida in the past, but challenges were regional, and you might pray for somebody at a distance, but you're having to go on with your life, whatever your versions of that is. People are homeschooling, or they're doing this, and all these different versions of how can I continue doing what I was doing before as effectively, and some people are finding out maybe more effectively than they were doing it before. And so change isn't necessarily always bad, and if trying to overcome a problem wasn't a real thing, we would have never built cars or airplanes or anything else. And so how are you adjusting from your previous building patterns to the reality of quarantine and fear in people's minds and fear in their economies and all of those things? How are you adapting to all of those stresses and external environments?
Yeah, great question. I want to apologize to the people that this is going to affect in a certain way. I'm probably about to be really annoying. But what's happening here is this quarantine pandemic is causing us to build faster, more effectively, and our numbers are going up. It's annoying. I'm sorry, but it's true. It's happening. Thankfully, about a month before the COVID thing became a thing, we started streaming our HBPs on Zoom so that people at a distance that we had on our teams who weren't in Reading could still participate and build into them. I came back from Miami with some fire and some strategy and some obsession over wanting to implement some stuff that I was learning from JR's slides. And so we started streaming stuff on Zoom before this stuff ever happened. And so we kind of already had a bit of a rhythm and a structure there.
Right back in February of 2020.
Yeah. Okay. Back in February. So a couple months ago. And then when the quarantine hit, we're like, oh, okay, so we're not doing live corings with people here anymore. We kind of adjusted some of those. So we weren't doing HBPs in person anymore, but we were still doing the presentations on Zoom when we had that infrastructure and network kind of already worked out as far as the logistics of it. So we just started cranking people up on participating in that way. And so
you're one of the first, first things to hit the fan because of your district in NorCal.
Right.
At that point, we were still directors of the GMTSS, and that was the first event where it was like, okay, there was all these conversations of, man, this is going to be tough. We're going to have to, adjust the way we do the meeting. And then it's like, well, no, maybe we're not going to do it live. Well, they're going to do it on Zoom, and then everybody's just going to watch it at home. But you guys, there was no quarantines in Reading. There was no word of that. You're 4 or 5 hours away from where that event was going to be. And you guys hosted a live hotel meeting with Zoom broadcasting, so you sort of created something that there's never been in the history of Market America, making, kind of making chicken salad out of chicken poop, a little bit. You're like, hey, this is not what we wanted. We're going to make something great of this. So you were the first person really in Market America and the whole company to kind of quickly adapt on the fly to a new version of what is.
Yeah, actually, so Alice Chu is our district coordinator, and she was pulling all of her leaders together to put the event on. And when the quarantine was happening, she knew about our Zoom stuff. And so she asked if I could somehow help us stream the whole thing. I was like, I thought about it. I'm like, yeah, we could. We could do this. Okay, we can. Because we had enough practice up to that point that we felt comfortable enough to navigate things. And thankfully, Andrew Chi had enough expertise to lend from a distance to help with some weird things we weren't familiar with. And so with all of our effort combined, we hosted the event and had a live event in Reading, but then streamed I think 100 and something, I forget the actual number, but a bunch of people streaming into the district from other places. So yeah, that was definitely a big corporate conversation that we were having to try and facilitate this huge shift of what we weren't expecting. And then I also had a motivation to try and help support our distance people. We got people who aren't in Reading. We want to build with them. And I was looking at numbers, was kind of inspired, and found a bunch of people on my team who are ready to pop checks. They're so close, but they're isolated on their own other places and just don't have the support.
Right.
And I was like, So I went to the leaders that had people in those places and I was like, hey, do you know that you have these people on your team and this is where they are and they're not moving because they don't have anybody to lead them, and you, blah, blah, and I don't have the capacity to know, but if we, and I just kind of cast vision for, if we did this, these things could happen and this is so close. So we created a distance team, if you will. So Marcus and Jan are two leaders on my team, and they both have collaborated, and now they meet with the people who are in other places every Sunday, for an hour after our team coring. So we have a coring on Sunday at 3 for everybody on Zoom on our team. And then right after is the distance team, and they meet and they're getting the support and the accountability and the whatever. And we've, like this last week at our HPP on Tuesday, we had 10 guests on the stream, which wasn't normal for us, which was so exciting. And I was like, what? And none of them were mine, David. None of these people were my guests.
That's the best guest.
It was amazing. I was like, what is happening? And I mean, people on my team were lit. They wouldn't stop texting each other. We did a little challenge from the coring. The people who can do, the person who does the most 2-on, oh, by the way, David, the person who does the most 2-on-1s in my team, I'm going to tag on MA Team Reading, and I'm tagging you and Stacy and Colton, and I'm like going to celebrate them.
Okay.
And so I'd love for you just to like get to, chime in on that.
Get a good heads up. Good.
Yeah. So anyway, I told them, hey, whoever wins, whoever does the most 2-on-1s this week, I'm going to tag you on our team page. I'm going to tag our leaders, and I'm going to recognize you in front of them and make sure they know you did this. And so people are doing 2-on-1s like crazy this week. It's fascinating. It's hilarious.
You can't over recognize, and behavior you want repeated, it's best to reward it. Yeah. And because people are isolated physically doesn't mean you can't have that ray of sunshine coming down on them and let things grow when that hits them. So
yeah. Beautiful. And David, I would say there was a moment. I remember I was on the phone with you and Stacy and Colton, and we were talking about the district, and you guys like, you should probably do a hotel meeting and still gather people in Reading. And I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't even know if we can. Oh my gosh, the amount of it was literally 4 days away. And I was like, we need to find a venue and get the team together and put the technology, and if the stream is going to work. And I was like, okay, oh man, it took me a moment. I was like, I don't know if we can do that. Let me talk to people and see what we can. Anyway, we did it. There was a moment in that process where I could feel this invitation to roll over and accept that the quarantine is just going to put us all on hold for a long time and just suffer the consequences, or get into the game, push in, and actually start learning how to adapt and use the different pieces that we do still have. And I remember there was a choice. There was a moment, right? And I was like, and I could feel the temptation. It would be a lot easier to just roll over and let this ride and just wait for it to pass, right? That'd be a lot easier. And I could just use it as like a cool, impromptu, long-term vacation to just relax and put my legs up and like chill. And I was like, there are people on my team who need help, the people who want to build, people who are going to need this. This is worth it. Let's try and figure it out. And so I invited some of my leaders into this conversation. They responded with, yes, we can do it. Yes, we can. And I told David, I didn't know what they were going to say. And they were like, every single one of them was like, yeah, we can do it. They didn't question it. They're like, yep, we can do it. They thought about it. I'm like, yep. And I was like, whoa.
It's really inspiring about recognizing that, because when you see the whole world is, you turn on the news, look at, CNN or something, coronavirus news network, people are there shaking their fist at the sky, darn you, God, and or blaming or angry or trying to find someone's at fault, or versus just saying, you know what, this is. And you know what, I can bury, hide under the basement until it's over and crawl out and see what's left. Or, you know what, I can be a place of refuge for people that are scared and don't know what to do next. And how many people are needing a $300 check right now?
Right.
I mean, it also went from being like, I didn't need to have $300 check. I could, get a nice bottle of wine or something, to where like, man, $300 check a month right now, we could have groceries.
Right. Yeah.
For some people.
Yeah, totally. So as soon as I saw the response from my leaders that they're in this with me and they'd be willing to run, I was like, we can do this. And so I said, yes, we're going to make this work. And I'm going to lead these people, and I will support and figure out and initiate and whatever. And we as a team did this, and it has just continued since the district, and it has only grown. And seeing the numbers increase the way that they are, and seeing the vitality and the morale of my team, we are more lit now than we were after Miami. I don't know what to do. I know it's annoying. I'm sorry, but it's true. They are so pumped. I was literally talking to Marcus yesterday, and he was like, this is so much fun. I'm having so much fun. I'm like, I used to have to try and convince him to write a goal statement. You know what I mean? Like, dude, this is worth it, I promise. And now he's like, get out of my way. We got to do this. And another leader on my team, Annabelle, she's like, I'm having so much fun. This is so exciting. And that's true of a lot of the leaders on my team. They're lit. Because we're seeing a lot of responsiveness, even to people we've reached out in the past who weren't interested. They didn't need this. It was whatever. Now they're like, Yeah, let me see that thing again. What was that thing? Can I say? And some people are reaching back to them. We're reaching back out to old prospects, and they're like, "Yeah, I'll get on." And it's easy because they just log onto a link, right? It's not as like taxing as them having to drive
Right.
somewhere and spend a whole 2 hours or whatever. Our presentations are 30 to 45 minutes. You know what I mean? It's like not as intense. It's a lot more invitational, and they get the chance to see the information. Yeah. We're just, our follow-up game has been put in place. They know how to do this. And so the system is already there. They've got the skills. And now we're just walking it out with people who are interested. It has actually caused the people we're working with to be a lot more interested.
It's easier for it to be viral in today's market because you can compress the time frames so easily.
Seriously.
Instead of being like, sadly enough, there was a lot of people before this happened. They would wait for a monthly UBP to happen before they'd ever get the plan in from a new person, because they're like, well, I don't know how to show it myself. I'm not willing to show it myself. There's going to be a UBP. Oh, we just had it last Tuesday. Darn. Okay. In 3 weeks, I'm going to take you to this thing. And then this guy's going to show you the business. It's like, you're not going to live long enough to enjoy the residual income at that pace. Sure, you can compress the time frame. Someone could see it over lunch and have somebody on a national one at night, as far as seeing it, and there's never been a better buffet of trainings and corings and information available ever. Like, and you don't have to be the source for anybody now. There's like shoot, there's a goal statement thing with Jim Winkler. Jump on this. You don't have to be. You just have to be that connector.
Yeah, seriously. And obviously, I think we've heard before, and we'll hear it again. Nothing is ever going to replace the live events. Those are still essential and important. We need that. But I think even after this quarantine thing passes, we're still going to be using this Zoom schedule. Yep. We're still going to be meeting with people in this way and having this rhythm in the midst of everything else. I think this is a game changer. We're not going away from this. It's too accessible. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Pandora's box has been opened in a really good way, and it's just going to be fuel on top of everything that you're doing, normally.
Yeah, the game has changed. It's awesome. We're having a lot of fun. It's really cool.
All right. Next question is moving on to Mike. There was an important thing you said. Man, I knew Tom was going to fly on this interview. We got to go Joe Rogan on this one day and just get on here for like 3 hours until we're just done, and people can jump on or jump off whenever they want.
Nice.
But you said an important thing a little bit ago, and I wanted to get into this. You just created a transition. You said you were at a fork, and the decision changed on the inside before you even opened your mouth. And I want to talk a little bit about the inside game versus the outside game. And most people spend so much effort, like, I want things to change. I want this cup to be green. I want, all these things. Like, I want my external environment to be different without the courage required to look at their internal environment. And like, they may want prosperity, but they're making poverty decisions on the inside of their value or what's possible or what I'm willing to move towards. So, you made a huge shift, but it took place inside before you started contacting people. Now, when you contacted people, they got a great response. They're like, "Yeah, man, let's do it. Let's get a hotel meeting. We'll still do a Zoom, and we'll treat it like a local. We'll do recognition and giveaways, and it kind of created a thing." But that happened before you were in that room and people were being blessed by it. You made an agreement with it inside that was possible. And so talk a little bit about inside game versus outside game, and what have you learned about that, about yourself, about this business, and how can other people, maybe grab onto some of that?
Yeah, great question. I mean, I'm going to try and focus it because I can say so many things about that, right? But one thing I do want to say about that is I knew when so in that moment I'm highlighting where I was making the decision, are we going to do this or not? Are we going to host this event live? Are we going to, in that space, I knew we were going to encounter challenges. I knew things were going to go wrong. I knew there were going to be things outside of our control that we couldn't change that wouldn't be fun. I knew those things were going to happen. I wasn't afraid of them. I wasn't going to make sure that those things went wrong. I just anticipated, we don't have enough whatever to be able to anticipate and sidestep all of this. Mm-hmm. So I'm already accepting this is not going to go perfectly, and that's okay. Is this still worth it to me, right? Do I still want to cast my lot here? And I'm realizing the amount of value and worth that's going to come out of this is way beyond whatever kind of difficulty and inconvenience we're going to have to go through. And so I made a decision as a leader in my own heart. I'm going to take the brunt. I will be blamed for stuff. Things are going to go wrong that will make me look bad. I'm going to embrace that anyway, because what people think about me is not more important than what's going to happen for the people who experience the benefit of this event, right? It's worth it. And then obviously, of course, the growth of my team and my business. So I was like, I'm taking the hit right now before any of that ever happened. So when it does happen, it's whatever. I already dealt with it. I already experienced that. I'm over it.
So good.
right? You just kind of count the cost, if you will, right? And you anticipate what's already going to come. Both positive or negative is irrelevant. You just kind of recognize that's true. The decision gives you the heart posture and the frame of mind and awareness and focus to engage that path, that as soon as anything gets in front of you, good or bad, it doesn't matter. You're already ready. The decision was made before the circumstance presented itself, right?
Yes.
You don't have to sit there and decide what to do with a new choice and a new choice. You don't have a bunch of new choices to make. You already made a choice, and now you just go execute that choice with every new circumstance that presents itself, right?
Yep.
And that's what we do with the business, what you do with anything that you care about and build in your life. But that's what that was there. And thankfully, the yes was strong enough. There was character and resilience and discipline enough to follow through with that decision, that everything that did come up, that did go wrong, that didn't like pan out like we wanted, got dealt with and got addressed and was overcome. And the event was incredible. We had an amazing experience.
Strong yeses, though, do tend to build upon each other like bricks on a really tall building, because you made a similar choice about whether you're going to let, you know, where you were going to be measured by others or measured by the facts, you know, where you let your ego dictate whether you're going to do this business or not. Like, you made a strong yes there. And so it's easier to make those courageous decisions once you made one. Some people are like, well, I'm going to do it, but I only want these people to know, but not these people.
Totally.
You know? And they're so wishy-washy halfway in, because their external life is full of confusion and lack of clarity, and they don't get a resounding yes from people, because they never gave themselves a resounding yes of I'm doing this.
Shoot.
And so it's hard for others to follow them. They're like, why am I not getting the results with these people? It's because, well, you're scared of these people.
Right.
You're basing everything on what other people think. Your external game is driving your internal game. And so
that's so true.
It was easier to make it on future occasions.
Yeah, seriously, that's true. That's a really good point. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, those yeses from the past that you continue to make add to the yeses you get to make later. You get to make bigger and more dramatic, more intense, more consequential yeses because of all the silly little ones you made. Totally. That's so true. It's like David killing the bear and the lion. Now he can kill Goliath. You know what I mean? That invested into that. That's for sure true. That's amazing. I love that. Yeah. So it's like, I mean, this thing, I've been aware of this dynamic since before this virus with this business. There's a choice that needs to be made. I was talking to Annabelle, one of my leaders. I was like, hey, Annabelle, do you know when you're going to activate? Like, do you have an idea when that's going to happen? And she's like, and she paused for a second and she thought, this is like literally 2 days ago. Sorry, Annabelle, I'm totally throwing you under the bus right now. She was like, well, I have this person in the funnel. And she's like, tell me who she's got going on. I'm like, whoa. I'm sorry. Are you saying you're going to activate based on what these people are going to choose? She's like, yes. I was like, you're probably not going to activate anytime soon. She's like, what? I was like, you activating is not based on what these people are going to choose. That's something that you have control over, and you get to decide what you're going to do for your business, regardless of what these 3 people choose. She's like, you're right. And I'm just kind of going after, like, this is a decision that you make, not just with activating, with anything in your business. And then obviously outside of the business, you make a decision. I'm going to hit this pin. I'm going to be at that event. I'm going to have this kind of an income. I have these kinds of people on my team. You decide that. And then it's shocking what happens around you to make that come to pass, right? You get stuff come into your life that you could not have made happen yourself. But those things don't actually show up until the decision gets made that you will take care of it, that you will respond, that you will cast your lot with that thing, right? That's true in so many aspects of this business. It's shocking. It's a decision internally first, and then we get to walk out demonstrating that decision in all the external circumstances that present themselves.
And it's kind of a quirky thing that people can detect that in you.
Yeah,
made that
right.
Or not.
Yeah.
Because I'll talk to someone and they're like, man, I've shown the plan to lots of people and I can't get anybody to move forward. And I'm like, well, first define lots, you know, because sometimes it was like 2, but they thought about 20 others. And so it felt like 30.
Yeah.
But it was really 2. And sometimes they show it and it's really quite a few. And you're like, these people didn't get together and have a meeting and say, we're not following Bob. You know, the world didn't conspire against them. It's got to be Bob, because Bob was the only common denominator. He was the only one at the scene of the accident every time.
Right.
And so it's got to be something that Bob brings. Well, Bob probably doesn't wear the same clothes every time. He probably doesn't do everything. The only thing that Bob probably brings to him every appointment consistently is his inner game.
Right. Oh, that's so good.
And that the aroma of your previous decisions is so strong, sometimes they can't even hear you.
Wow. Yes, that's so true.
You know,
that's so good. That's such a great way to say that.
It's like, are you activated because these people chose the business, or do these people get sucked into the vortex of your choice to get activated?
Right.
which is it? And we all know.
Yeah, that's so good. That's so true. And the thing is, the people who know that are like, yes, that's so true. The people who don't know it are like, okay, sure. You know, and there's like you got to get this, man. It's a decision. It's on you. This is something you have to bring first before anyone's going to say yes to it.
Yes.
True. Yeah.
You get in, or you might get lucky, you know,
Yeah.
or something that you could stumble it in because someone else had made a good decision and they were in the room and you just were a part of their process. But to really have a business and to be of value to the team, you've got to get clarity in your own heart where you're going with it. And again, it's not this. It's like, if you're going to get married, make it work. If you're going to, you know, whatever, have good health, you know, be committed to any of these things. Like you don't, you know, it's an ongoing thing. So
yeah, totally.
Right. Let's wrap up. One last question. I knew we are going to go over, but I love it. You're so much fun to talk to. How can people stay in touch with you and be in touch with your whiteboard of wisdom and some of those things that I think could be an ongoing benefit to them?
Yeah, thanks. Great question. So I am very active on my Instagram account. You can find me at Mike Maeshiro. So it's Mike, Maeshiro. That's my Instagram handle.
One more time, a little slower.
Oh, sorry. Mike, Mike, Maeshiro, Maeshiro.
Perfect.
And then I'm on YouTube with the same name, just with a space on that one. So Mike Maeshiro, I've got a channel, lots of great content getting pumped out there. I'm obviously on Facebook, same name. I have a podcast, so you can look me up with my name as well. The podcast is entitled Confessions of a Reformer. I definitely talk a ton about spiritual intelligence, the gift of discernment, emotional health, communication, leadership, entrepreneurship. That's the stuff I talk about. You can find me in any of those places.
And I also love the way you kind of externally process some things that you're not completely done on. It's like, this might be a thing, and you're kind of working through it. So, you know, Mike's a good source to be able to. Thanks, Stacy's typing it on there too. So
thank you, Stacy.
Being a scribe. Your soil's going to be a lot richer if you have a lot of good content organically going down into it and biodegrading. And all of a sudden the plant grows up, and the plant doesn't look like dead leaves, but it's the sum total of all the things it had the ability to pull from. And Mike is a great source to be putting into your soil that you'll be pulling up, and not the only one, but I guarantee you need some, you know, forks in the tree of thought, you know, as you go along, and the more great sources you can have, the better. Mike is a great one. So Mike, I appreciate you being on here. I'm not going to do any fun facts at the end. I think the whole thing has been a fun fact and enjoyable. I don't need to crack the seal to get to see the personal side of you. Hope we can get you back into the Southern region to do some speaking, to attend events when we have those live again, and so forth. But would love to be seeing you on the Zoom and jumping into some of your meetings. And I know for sure I want to get some of my prospects plugged into the things that you're doing, you know, there on your Zoom stuff as well. So we appreciate you.
Yeah. Thank you, David. I'm honored to be on here. Thanks for taking the time to interview me. Likewise, I love chatting with you. We could do the Joe Rogan 3-hour thing for sure. We should film that one time.
We should do it. The quarantine kicks out a little longer. We'll go Joe Rogan on this thing and just explore all things that are and might be.
Deal. Let's do it. I'm already nervous.
Thanks, Mike. Have a great day. You guys make the most of what is. Mike, a great example here today. You can walk out in the yard and shake your fist at the sky, or you can say, you know what, I'm going to make the most of what is available now. And I tell you what, when the limits are pulled off and the ankle weights are gone and the rocks are out of your pocket and you're free to do whatever you want, these habits are going to serve you so well. It'll be like a slingshot coming out of this. And again, Market America is just the gym. It's just the activity. It's really about having the best life you possibly can. And this just gives you a microcosm to be able to accelerate and give yourself a platform and to be able to have more to show for it than anything else you could probably possibly be doing. So make the most of this time for yourself and everyone that you can impact. Thanks a lot. Make it a great weekend. Happy Easter to everyone as well. Big shout out there. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.